Hi, I'm going to look at some recordings I made, and there's a few mistakes, so I'll correct them. I'm going to look at Unit 1 first, that was covered and then uncovered and was confusing me tremendously. So let's see it get covered. So this is covering of Unit 1. In 2011. So they covered the unit, they said, to extract radionuclei, whatnot out of the air. So they were going to filter the air, which they did for 5 years, I guess. 5.0 magnitude earthquake in Japan. Well, that's always happening. So something else will happen to another nuclear plant somewhere at some point, because the Earth always has earthquakes. Anyway, so that got covered. 11. So then, that was covered in 2011, and then they uncovered it. So here's Unit 1, November 10th, 2016, and they're removing the wall panels from the outer reactor building cover. So I'm at a loss. They built this whole structure around this Unit 1, and then they took it all down. So at least Unit 1 doesn't make any sense. Have the side panels blown out. And then it's TEPCO. So I'll see if I can find any reasoning behind this episode. Why would you build this structure all the way around it and then take it apart? Do not understand. So they must have said it was all clean and wonderful with one of their lies and said we don't need this cover anymore. Then Unit 2, they're going to break through an access door. So here's Unit 2. They are breaking into it through one of the access doors. Anyway, that's just loud, and this arm just moves closer to the door, and nothing ever happens. I tried to download this forever, couldn't get it, but they say they're getting into 2 through this door. So 3 gets covered. So this is a film that shows the installation above Unit 3, the finishing of the cover, February 21st, 2018. So before they put this end cap on, I did see a crane get placed in there, a big blue crane. So now there's a crane in there, and they can say they lifted out all the radioactive material. So believe them if you want. Still have to consider large parts have been blown out below the surface that people walk on. And then 4, this guy's hard to listen to for a couple reasons. Okay, I'm going to listen to some of the TEPCO propaganda. They said they removed all the fuel from Unit 4 after they built this cantilever over it.
Unit 4 was not in operation, as it was undergoing.
So, which one is it? Is it the square one? So there's these square ones in big square casks. They're fuel rods, and then there were the fuel rods in the cement rectangular storage pools, and then I see some round ones. So there's at least 3 different methods in this stuff, so it's whatever. Now these are different than the fuel pools they showed me earlier, so which one is it? Is it these square ones or the oblong cement containers that this stuff's in?
And some fuel assemblies that haven't been used yet. 1,535 in all. Unit 4.
And they always use the hydrogen explosion thing, but I can't see how hydrogen explosion can make this much damage and melt the beams and stuff, but we'll listen to them. And all the people on the internet that argue this hydrogen explosion stuff, I don't think they are very good at physics or understanding heat, because a lot of these beams are melted I've looked at, and that just can't happen from a hydrogen explosion. So you got to look at the basic stuff. Don't look at the in-depth scientific reports, just use observation.
Accumulated hydrogen causes an explosion.
Bull.
Which not only blew off the roof, but destroyed the mechanism by which
Hydrogen explosion
we
blew out all the cement
ordinarily
walls,
remove the fuel from the pool.
melted beams.
Before our workers could remove
Cranes up here and stuff, but I can't find any pictures that show installation of anything. And I'm trying to just see the difference in these beam heights, trying to figure out what's going on inside.
or the building. Remove rubble from the pool.
See, here's the round ones. So we've got round and square.
And assess whether any of the assemblies have been too damaged to be handled. In November,
So it definitely looks like they're working on some damaged reactor there, but which one it is, I have their word for it. Okay. So why do we not want nuclear reactors blowing up? Well, because the water cycle, everything goes everywhere in the world. Billions of years it goes in this circle. So let's say the plant uptake, let's say that's the Fukushima plant. They mean a plant with photosynthesis, but let's say it's the nuclear plant, and all the reactors melted down here right by the ocean. So we got all this groundwater coming in. They say they made an ice dam and blah blah blah, and they pump out water and put them in these tanks that are all going to eventually leak. So it doesn't make any difference. It's just a big propaganda game with them. So billions of years, all the water in me was probably in the ocean or in some other animal or in a rain cloud, I don't know. But over billions of years it just recycles and recycles and recycles. And so now this plant is going to melt down for 100 years, and this is going to recycle and recycle and recycle, and the whole ocean is going to get destroyed. So when the water evaporates with the nuclear particles in it, then it turns into clouds, and then it comes over the United States. Well, it goes all around the world eventually. It's going to be everywhere equally in a couple hundred years. So here's some readings. I'm getting about 20 here in Portland, 10 to 20. So there it says 20. But these counts are just ridiculous. If it's over 100, you don't want to live there. And it's like half the country is now over. I mean, just incredible. So one of the ideas is the radioactive water evaporates from the ocean, goes into clouds, and then rains on the U.S. So let's look at Nashville, Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, this area, Indianapolis. So you can see 14th, 360, 293, 376, just high. I mean, that's just high. You don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. So let's look at this area here. That was the 14th. So then I'll go to draw the radar, which is the 15th, but you know, pretty close. And that shows heavy rain in these areas. Heavy rain in the areas that are high in radiation. So I think that's a good correlation by organic slant. And then just look at, this is 2011, I think, 13. But basically these are pineapples in Hawaii that has the DNA been greatly affected by radiation. So you just get all these weird plants. And this is what happens to humans too. They're going to come out with 6 arms and 9 eyes and half a brain, whatever happens. I mean, once your DNA gets screwed up, I mean, you can't see what's going to happen until the person's born. So, nuclear power, how valuable is it to us? Well, since the nuclear power accident in Japan, they have 14 reactors for decommissioning, and they've got over 50, so they better decommission a lot more. And then provides 2% of Japan's power. So there's other ways to get power, which they've shown, because they're scared to death of dying, and they are dying. So we should keep an eye out for the next nuclear power plant to melt, because another one's going to melt. And they've closed down the 4 nuclear power plants just south of Fukushima. So there's 10 now they've closed in that area, and they've all been down since the earthquake. So who knows how badly damaged those are, because they're not going to tell us anything. I'm not sure.